what if I can't get this thing to pass tech? I'm screwed. As I was building this SLC, I had in the back of my mind that at some point in my life, very soon, I'm going to have to take this to the DMV and get this inspected and get this approved by the state to be legal for the road. Because if I wanted to sell it, having an actual title means thousands of dollars in resale value as opposed to just track toy only, right? And I'm fretting over this constantly, and Minnesota's website is not really much of a help. It's all legalese, and it's hundreds of pages, and very little do they actually say about registering kit cars. And I'd heard stories of horror stories, especially Florida, New York, California, a couple of Texas especially, about you gotta have emissions, you gotta have catalytic converters, you gotta have seat belts, brake lights that work, and apparently in Australia you need to do like a brake test where you actually go on the special machine and do it. So I'm panicking. Like, what if I can't get this thing to pass tech? I'm screwed. I'm just gonna have a track toy. I won't be able to drive it on the street like I wanted. It didn't have bumpers. There were no bumpers. There's no airbags. There's a 5-point harness and a bolt-in roll cage. That's essentially what it was. With this monocoque aluminum chassis, which I'm pretty sure has not been crash tested ever in the history of these cars. I have yet to see one crash, although I do know that at a couple racetracks in the unlimited sportsman's class has set some pretty spectacular records, so they are very fast. So I'm fretting it. I go to the inspection place. We don't have inspections for emissions anymore, so there's only one place that's within my house range, and it's this little inconspicuous building in the middle of nowhere. I walk in and there's a ton of guys just sitting there who are all used car dealers. And they go in there just to get the VIN and the engine and transmission code verified. Say, oh, it's been inspected by the state. See how wonderful and reliable it is? When all they really did was make sure the VIN, the engine, and the transmission codes all matched. That was it. They immediately have no idea what to do with it. They said, okay, well, you need a manufacturer certificate of origin, an MCO. And it's a little piece of paper about yay big, and it's from the kit car Superlight that I bought it from, and they send you one, and they say, here you go. And it has a number on it, a VIN number. And it has to be stamped somewhere on the car. I didn't know this. And you also have to prove that you didn't steal any of the pieces from the car. This includes receipts and other things like that. And they literally have no idea what to do with this. They look at it, they refuse to get in it and drive it. Say, why don't you drive it up in here? I said, fine, no big deal. Had a push button start, it was cool. And I drive it in, and they got the wing and the big thing, and everybody's just kind of peering over it and don't know what to do. And the guy says, okay, well, I'm gonna need a receipt for the transmission. I said, okay, I bought that from Fran, from the man who owns Superlight. He had provided me one that was already converted, flipped, and reversed. That's how you get a mid-engine car in a G50 Porsche transmission. He says, okay, well, I'm going to need to see the VIN stamped on the car somewhere. I said, nope, got nothing. He goes, okay, well, I can't pass tech. I said, fine. I drove back home, grabbed my punch set, tink, 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 drove it back, same exact person, same exact place, said, oh, I'm sorry, I've mistaken. The VIN was there the whole time, right in plain sight. I don't know how I missed that. He goes, gee, I don't know how I missed that either. Glad we got that. He goes, okay, I need to make sure the engine's not stolen. I said, okay. He goes, I need a receipt. I said, it's a crate motor. Didn't have a receipt. He goes, what do you mean didn't have a receipt? I said, I work with General Motors on projects from time to time, and this one was something they gave to me. And they said, what do you mean just gave to you? I said, well, it's a sponsorship deal. They gave me this motor, no receipt. He says, well, I can't give you your title based on nothing. So now I'm sitting there in the DMV. I call up my contact at General Motors Performance and say, hey man, can you say something, to them? And the guy at the DMV says no. He says, nope, I can't do this over the phone. I don't care who you just called. It does not matter. So I said, hey man, can you just email me a receipt? Or say something to the effect that this is not a stolen motor with the motor ID number on it that's stamped on it. He goes, yeah, sure, no problem. So I get that, come back the next day with a piece of paper in hand, and it's a new guy. The guy goes, oh yeah, you're the guy with that weird race car thing that came in. I said, yeah, that's me. He goes, they give you a lot of trouble yesterday? I said, yeah, I had to come back like 3 times to do this. He goes, they don't understand hot rodders at all. Hold on. Comes back 2 minutes later, doesn't even look at the piece of paper. Just goes, yeah, you're fine. I've already heard about it, and I saw you on the internet. You're good. I said, sure you don't want to look at the safety features? I'm fretting about brake lights and turn signals and wipers and everything. And he goes, no, we don't want to look at that at all. I said, not even the wipers? Not even the headlights? Not even the brake lights? None of this. You don't want to look at any of it. He goes, no. Those are safety items. I said, what do you mean safety items? He goes, if we are certifying that the vehicle is safe and you crash and die, then you can sue the state. I don't care if you've got string for a seatbelt. I don't want to see it. Now it can be titled in any state under any stupid rule that the state wants to make up. Because it's been titled in Minnesota, it can now be transferred to any other state. If you want to build a car, build it in Minnesota, title it in Minnesota, then take it wherever you want. So I had a time commitment that I had to do this in under a year. So that meant I had to do my normal job, family things that you normally have to do with life, and finish this car and write all the articles as well. So all in all, I would say my own personal time between 400 and 500 hours. If you include my wife's time, taking all that sticker goo off there and painting the inside of it and doing random things that I needed help with, about 600 if you include her time too. So the question of price comes up a lot. How can you value one of these cars? Because there's nothing to compare it to. The cost of the car plus all the bits that you need to supply with it, between $60,000 to $65,000. That includes nobody else's labor, nobody else helping, no alignments, no tech, nothing. That is your own cash and your own sweat and equity out of it. Now you can go higher than that, of course. I've seen them in the 80 to 100 range for really nice examples with good paint and really nice interiors and really sorted suspension and a bunch of amenities, TVs, and a bunch of other things that can go in it. All in all, I was probably into it 70. I think I marketed it for 75, and then I think in trade I got maybe 70 in value of cars. So I traded my SLC for 2 cars, a Gen 2 Viper, that was a race car, and a 1979 white air-cooled 911 turbo wide body slant nose. It had no paperwork, nothing. But it was a steel slant nose. It wasn't a fiberglass slant nose. It was steel. So I at least had that going for it. And in the 8 hours I drove it, I got to know the car very well. And I had a lot of fun with it. It was a great little car. It was just kind of gutless. There wasn't a lot of power. It was a motor out of a 93 turbo. So it had a 93 turbo engine in this 79. They had to cut the torque tubes, though, to get it to fit, which meant this thing was a basket case. And when I got it home, realized the turbo was blown. Wouldn't rev past 4,500 RPM. I mean, you just give it the beans and it would just, and it would just, you could hear the turbo, and it started leaking, and we got out and there's just oil everywhere. I put it on the internet literally the next day. I drove it home, had the Viper and the Porsche sitting next to each other. Before picking up the Porsche, I showed my wife a picture of it and she goes, I'm not so sure about this car. It's not very pretty. I pull in, she's standing there, and I'm just kind of, what's she gonna think of this? And she goes, oh, it's adorable, I love it. Let's keep this one and sell the Viper. Put the Porsche up for sale the next day. A guy came within an hour of posting the Craigslist ad. He had a red Porsche, a 911 turbo, a newer one, late 2000s, so 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. And he had a blue one. And now he wanted a white one. So we had a red, white, and blue Porsche. Turns out he's friends of friends, and only drives this white one that I had, beats the living crap out of it and loves it. Says it's the most fun car he's ever had.
VINwiki is proud to be partnering with mobile app Hero to continue changing the way we look at documenting automotive history. We're working with them to bring updates to our mobile and web-based app, so stay tuned to their social media and ours and keep telling the stories of all the cars you love.